Um, so FireStride this week. Summer is out of office, so I think it's going to be a pretty short FireStride chat. I'll give a couple very brief updates about what is going on, and then if you guys have any questions, you can jump into those. And yeah, so main updates I think are basically our whole team's just been heads down on interchain security and the liquidity staking module. So interchain security is launching on July 19th. We did our second testnet yesterday and it worked out. So we have pretty high confidence that interchain security will work in production, although, it's impossible to know for sure. But practice makes perfect, and we've done 2 practice runs. And then on the LSM side, we have been working on finalizing the Stride audit and getting that code shipped. So those are the big things that are in motion for July. Hopefully by the end of July, interchain security and LSM will both be live. But yeah, not too much from our end besides those things. Really, we're just in kind of heads down building sprint mode. So yeah, those are the updates for me. If anyone has any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat or hop on stage and ask them. And I'll do my best to answer.
Yeah, how's it going?
Hey, 100x short. How's it going?
What's up, Moons? So I was just wondering, I guess we were focused on that kind of like the community thing where it was gonna be like cool people that did all this cool stuff and then they got ranked up levels or whatever and I don't know, that didn't appeal to me personally. Just wondering if there's any other kind of community engagement or any kind of not just click 10 tasks thing that we can get involved in that I don't care about my ranking or whatever, but just to help out the chain. That was all.
Yeah. When you say help out the chain, what do you mean exactly? Do you have any
I mean,
specific examples?
like for instance, I don't know, somebody does something, post something on Reddit, I'll respond to it. I'm not you guys, but I'm knowledgeable enough to help them with their situation real quick. I guess just more proactively, uh than just I don't know, to become a promoter or whatever. I don't know what word it's even called. The thing that you go up levels by doing things for Stride or doing little tasks. Is there anything like that besides that I guess the community needs? You guys are focused on development, right? And I totally get that. But I feel a lot of times development forgets about, you know, like branding, advertising, all that kind of stuff, community engagement, all that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think you mean the ambassador program. And the way that the ambassador program is designed is early on, the tasks are pretty straightforward, like going on Twitter and Discord and answering questions. But as you move up the ranks in the ambassador program, the tasks become more complex and in depth. So, for example, if you know a lot about Stride and someone on Reddit asked a question and you have a really good answer, that's a good way to help out. And then if you're interested in tying it back to the ambassador program, you can submit it. Or if you're not interested in tying it back to the ambassador program, you could always just do it as well.
Yeah. It's more just I don't want my Twitter and my stuff all like, you know, strided out unless I'm promoting Stride myself, I guess. I don't want to link to some task.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all. That's all.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think long form answers or talking to people more in depth about Stride work or things like that. That's it's a big value add.
And then I had one last question. How do you feel about I think there's a necessity for competition in this space, and like when interchain security like kind of launches on, um, like I guess I don't want to have all the liquidated Cosmos in one space. That makes sense. Do you have any like ideas of like working with any other like liquid staking protocols or no?
Yeah, I think to your point, like competition is very good, but I don't think we'll work with other liquid staking protocols. I think they should compete with us and we should compete with them, and it'll make both protocols stronger. But we're not planning on working with any particular protocols right now. The other thing that I'm not totally convinced of is, especially when there's small amounts of Atom that are liquid staked, I think it might even be better for those liquid staked Atom to be in the safest liquid staking protocol, which we think is Stride. I mean, we've had the most audits out of any liquid staking protocol. We've had the most TVL for the longest time. So um,
Yeah, I
I think
mean, you guys have been great. I guess I'm just more looking forward to like when there's 30 million atoms staked. I mean, I think it'll get liquefied because pretty much that's all it is. It's just a meme token that stakes. And it's like so much more useful as a derivative for like DeFi and everything. I guess that's kind of where I'm thinking like into the future.
yeah. Um, Yeah, it's a good question. I think other liquid staking protocols will need to offer sort of different services and cover different niches in the market. I think Stride is focused on one particular angle, but there's definitely other angles for liquid staking protocols as well. Like I know Quicksilver in the past has talked about governance. Maybe they'll add governance features at some point. I think we'll work on those as well. But maybe they'll bring them to market faster. PSake might have like their own thing that they focus on. Maybe they build more applications on the persistence chain. So I think there's different niches. It just depends on what other LLC providers decide to do.
And just thank you guys. Like the airdrops have been like it's just the most fair way I've never had any BS with this chain. Like it's been a joy compared to my last like 8 years in the space. To not have like like the nonsense. It's just been straightforward. You guys have done everything you said, so thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, we try to make it very simple and straightforward. There's enough complexity and craziness in crypto. We don't need to bring more of that.
Hello, Ayo. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Oh, I got just a real quick question. With Stride deploying Liquid Stake that 700,000 Atom or however much on Astroport, will that affect any partnerships that Stride has with any other chains that use liquid staking products, such as like Osmosis or Kujira?
I don't think it should. I don't think it should affect any uh, any other chain. Really, it's mainly focused on Neutron and Astroport. So for context, the question is about there is 450,000 Atom. I think it's something like 45 million US dollars of community pool Atom. Half of it's going to be liquid staked, and then it'll be LP'd on Astroport on Neutron. So the ST Atom pool on Neutron will have $4 to $5 million of liquidity depth, and then or 450K Atom, and it'll just sit there. So it'll provide a liquidity base, and then hopefully, DeFi on Neutron can be built on top of that. So yeah, I don't think it should affect other chains really.
Yeah, okay. I guess my question was more like, would Stride be more initially focused on building up the liquidity on Neutron and Astroport, but it sounds like by what you're saying, it's just basically taking the Stride protocol, liquidating half of that 450,000 Atom, and just using them to build DeFi. So the relationship you'll have with like Osmosis and by extension Mars doing some of their Atom vaults, that's gonna essentially remain unchanged.
Yeah, it should remain mostly unchanged. I think it's important to have liquidity around different places in the ecosystem, and in particular, Osmosis and Stride have had a strong sort of alignment since Stride's launch. Most of Stride's liquidity, I think 90% or so, lives on osmosis, and most incentives also go to osmosis. So I don't see that alignment slowing down anytime soon.
Okay. That's perfect. All right. Appreciate y'all for letting me talk. Thank you again, Aiden.
Yeah, of course. If anyone else has questions, feel free to come up. I don't have too much to share, so happy to just chat or answer any questions, whatever you guys want.
Hello. I just had another question about how quickly we're reaching tail end emissions here, which is great for me, I think. Uh, I've never seen, like, I guess a chain really like accelerate that quickly. I mean, I think we're over 85% of total token distributed, much of which I have staked. I'm just wondering, like, any thoughts on that, like moving forward, as far as like validators, governance. Like, it seems like there's a couple, validators that pretty much are uncatchable. Um, I mean, it's not that we can't redelegate. It's just it seems like we're reaching the tail end pretty quick here. I was just wondering what you were thinking about that.
Yeah, when you say the tail end, do you mean the staking rewards have mostly been distributed, or do you mean like the tokens are no longer locked in circulation, or what do you mean?
I mean that of all the tokens that will be in existence, that 85 million of them have already been created out of 100 million.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that I've noticed in Cosmos is like inflation is, I think, unnecessarily high. I don't see why inflation needs to be like 100 or 200%. Like in some sense, it's sort of like when you have like a young economy. Sometimes inflation is higher, and then when you have more like mature, established economies, inflation is lower. And I think that's like broadly true. But then to have inflation at like 1 or 200% seems excessively high. The 85 million though is all the tokens are in existence, but it doesn't mean that they're all in circulation. So, for example, there's something like 20 million Stride in a module account. So it's owned by the Stride protocol, and it's earmarked for liquidity mining incentives. And I like that. That's not all going to be unlocked in the next like 6 or 12 months. It'll probably take multiple years for those all to be distributed, if ever. So the 85 million do exist, but lots of them are like locked up in different ways. And yeah, the tokenomics question of how many tokens are actually circulating is a little bit complex. But
I think
are there like
super
specific
cool.
questions you have?
Is there like a way to, I don't know, Moons is pretty good at stuff like this, just like releasing like I don't know, like you guys do all the time, like where you just like clarify things that are unclear, like in a medium or something.
Yeah, you mean just to talk about like a tokenomics update?
Yeah, just like in like there's this many, but there's only this many, and then like wherever all the stuff's allocated to a little bit. It's a little bit confusing trying to go back through history to do that through November.
Yeah, yeah. I can talk to the rest of our team about it. I think there are also platforms that do this. So I've seen like tokenomics reports for other chains, like DYDX, for example. So it's possible there's actually something out there already. It might be behind a paywall, but it's possible someone's already done this work. So yeah, I'll talk to the team about it, and I'll do some research and see if maybe there's already an article out there. Like I think Masari, for example, they do a lot of this tokenomics research, and they have really solid tokenomics reports for other chains.
Hi guys. So like, Hub is bringing this proposal for having native staking, and I think most of the chains will follow it. So how do you guys see it? Like, is it on the same lines, or it is bad for Stride and other liquid staking protocols? How do you see it?
Yeah. Sorry, Mystique. What's the proposal? Can you clarify?
So Cosmos Hub is bringing LSD, like native LSD on Hub, right?
Oh yeah.
So other chains
Yeah,
will
I think
also follow suit, right? I think that way.
Yeah, I think so. I think what you're referring to is the LSM, the liquidity staking module. And what LSM does is it lets stakers create liquid staking tokens for their validator. So if I'm staked to Cosmos Station on the Cosmos Hub, I can create a liquid staking token, but it's specific to the Cosmos Station validator. And therefore, it's like hard to use in DeFi protocols because it's not an ST atom or a Q atom. Rather, it is a token that is specific to a single validator. And really, a liquid staking token should aggregate all these up. So LSM does a couple things. One is it makes it much easier to liquid stake because if you are staked to a validator, now you can instantly turn your stake into one of these LSM tokens. So it's a liquid staking token for a validator. And then you can deposit that on Stride in exchange for ST Atom. So if, like right now, if you're staked to Cosmos Station and you want ST Atom, you have to unstake. It takes 3 weeks. You lose all your yields. But once LSM is live, you'll just liquid stake your LSM token. So the whole process will take like minutes, going from native stake to ST Atom, whereas right now it takes 3 weeks. The other thing that LSM does is it introduces a regulatory framework for liquid staking. So it puts some restrictions on liquid staking. It means the global amount of liquid stake can only be 25% or so, although this can, of course, be raised in the future. And then it restricts, it puts some additional restrictions on validators as well. So if a validator wants to take part in liquid staking, then that validator needs to have some skin in the game. They need some self-stake. Overall, I think it's very good. I think there's some people in Cosmos that are very concerned about the effects of liquid staking, and I think LSM answers some of those questions. And then it also makes it much easier to start liquid staking. So I think overall it's going to be very positive, and I do hope other chains adopt LSM as well.
Thanks for the answer. Like, that's new for me. I thought like LSM will work like how Stride work. So you cleared up things. Thank you. That's it from my end.
Cool. Any other questions? Anything is fair game. Any questions you guys have or anything you want to discuss, feel free to come on up.
Sorry, I'll just keep talking. No one's going to talk. I got questions. So
Cool. Go for it.
basically, I guess I'm wondering. My understanding is there's like the top 10 validators of each chain, except for excluding like what do you call it? Excluding exchanges and self delegations are like the primary where the tokens that we liquid stake get delegated to. Is that correct?
Not exactly. The way that it works is it's the top 30 to 40, excluding exchange validators, and then there's some commission bound. So no 0% commission validators, no one over 20%. And this is for chains that have like less than 1 or 2 million TVL. For then the larger chains like Atom and Osmosis, there's a council with a whole other system. But the TLDR is the council, which is a neutral party. There's 5 people in the Cosmos Hub Council. They evaluate and choose validators, and they optimize for uptime, safety, decentralization, things like that.
Yeah, I guess I just wonder as like governance with interchain security gets like together, like it seems like there might be some conflicts of interest there. I know that we're like gonna maintain validators as governors, but if they're the same people, then I'm wondering if there's any way or thoughts about addressing that yet.
Yeah, can you double click on what is the conflict of interest? Who are the parties involved, and what's the conflict?
Just let's say I don't know, Imperator. He's got like 1.5 million Stride staked. He's also got like 3 million Cosmos staked. So I bet he's in the both of the the Stride side of this and the Atom side of this, and quite openly, I think that he's made or the validators made many statements about Atom first, Atom whatever. But I'm not trying to stir controversy. I'm just wondering if we do reach those conflicts of interest and it's the same human beings or the same companies. Is there any plan for that?
Yeah, so the conflict of interest being someone that's a Stride governor and also a Cosmos Hub validator.
Right. If those two visions don't align at some point, but it doesn't really matter because the Stride validators just vote, one way with the Cosmos validators. I don't think anyone's questioning whether or not Cosmos validators have significantly more at stake, I guess is a good way to put it. So I guess if there was ever a issue where Stride would benefit one way and Cosmos would be at its detriment, I don't really see how people with the same validator would vote Stride's direction.
I see. So maybe one small clarification, and then I think I can address the question. So the Stride governors, when Stride onboards to ICS, it remains sovereign, meaning STRD token holders and Stride governors can vote on the future of Stride. However, right now they don't like pick and choose the validators that are delegated to on the Cosmos Hub. The council does it, and then the Stride just uses a copy staking strategy for the chains that don't have a council. So it just like takes the existing set. So Imperator, even though they're a governor on Stride and a validator on the hub, they can't push more delegations to themselves on the hub. But then I think there's like another thing which you're touching on, which is if the Stride protocol is misaligned with the Cosmos Hub, maybe the Stride
that's the main question.
Yeah, maybe the Stride protocol could do something that would harm the Cosmos Hub. So, for example, like if yeah, I don't know. I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but I think that the problem is the problem makes sense. So how Lido on Ethereum has thought about dealing with this is by introducing a dual token governance model. So the idea is that both LDO and STETH have governance rights over the Lido protocol. So one way you can imagine like a solution for this working is if STRD token holders can vote on ST-Atom related issues, and ST-Atom token holders can also vote on ST-Atom related issues. You have a dual token governance model, and then maybe like ST-Atom has veto rights. So if you're an ST-Atom staker and Stride wants to go do something that's harmful, maybe the ST-Atom stakers can come in and they can veto the STRD vote. So even though STRD and ST-Atom holders are misaligned, there's like some checks and balances on the power that they have.
And is it my understanding correct that like the governors will not have to actually run a validator? So like there's a significant chance that like those delegations can move without having to worry about the infrastructure necessary for a delegator.
Yep, that's right. The governors will not have to run validators. I think in theory, like There might not even have to be an unbonding period, although this would require more changes to the SDK. But the main reason that there's an unbonding period right now is to prevent against validator misbehavior. But if you just have a governor, you don't necessarily need one. What you could do, though, is you could have different types of misbehavior. So right now, validators get slashed for things like downtime and double signing. Governors won't be slashable, but you could imagine like maybe there are certain other conditions that you would want to slash a governor for. For example, if they fail to vote on like 10 proposals, that might be similar to downtime, and then maybe you'd want to slash them. So, but to your original question, yeah, they don't need to run validator infrastructure.
Okay, I think that's like pretty much answers my question. I hope that we can maybe try and spread the wealth a little bit on the Stride delegations. Maybe, I don't know, running campaigns or doing something. I mean, if you don't need if you don't need to run an active validator, I think maybe community can get around that without having to do much besides just like redelegate if there's no one needing to run the validator.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Cool. Well, I have to hop off, but thank you everyone for coming. Thanks 100x Short and Mystique for your questions. And I will talk to you guys next week.